math don't lie. The math doesn't lie. Math never lies. That's the main reason I got into this business. And it's not because, I could have helped a lot of people or this and that. It's really my own trust issues. See, I grew up in Oakland, California, the Bay Area, California, and you could just never trust anybody. I could have been smart enough to go into science, or I could have been smart enough to go into engineering or something else. But the math, the numbers, they just don't lie. So I want you to listen to me when I talk to you. The numbers don't lie. You're not a homeowner for a reason. Like if you're watching this and you're 30, 40, 50 years old and you're not owning a home, there's a reason for that. So let's talk about those reasons. Reason number one, you just thought maybe, low self-esteem. You just thought maybe you couldn't do it. It's just not for me. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'll just go rent. I'll just go hang out. I'll just be where I'm at. I'm comfy where I'm at. But that comfort, it gets you trouble. You know why? Because you end up being comfortable for years on end, and you only end up putting money into your landlord's pocket. I'm not saying this to benefit. Look, I'm not telling you one-on-one. You could watch this and not do anything about it. But I'm telling you this because I see it. It's a pattern that I habitually see in the last 20 years of doing this industry and doing this business. People just get way too comfortable. They end up getting comfortable with their rent, and that's that landlord winning. The landlord did their job. Okay? So now you're comfy, putting money in the landlord's pocket, and you didn't build any equity. You didn't build any appreciation. You didn't build any wealth. Let me give you an example. Let's say you had bought in 2019. Let's say you'd bought in March 2020, right when COVID struck, right? House in Sacramento and Citrus Heights would have been $300,000. House in Roseville would have been $400,000, $500,000. House in Rockland would have been $600,000. Those houses today have almost gone up $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, in some cases $500,000. Missed opportunity. Why? It was because you didn't take action. Second reason you didn't do it. Well, if it's not self-esteem, it's, a stereotypical, something we've been taught as an adolescence, something we've been taught growing up that, hey, we're just not good enough. We're just not good enough. We are just not good enough. Why do I say we? Look, it's not we, the American people, because Americans are buying homes in droves. It's projected that we're going to see $535 billion in new purchases just this year, right? I'm talking about we, the minority. And before you even change the channel and say, oh, the minority, oh, here he's about to change the page and do this and that. No, the reality is the African American, the Hispanic, the percentages of Punjabi homeownership this year are finally going to be higher than they were the year before and the year before and the year before. So it took this long, 2024, for us to finally get a higher percentage, but are still low percentages? Come on, man. We're better than that. Maybe you're like me. You're a product of a blue-collar family that didn't know any better. Your dad didn't teach you. Your mom didn't teach you. It's not their fault. They didn't know, right? If my parents didn't have the growth that they did in the real estate portfolio that they had, and they didn't have a portfolio. God, we're using big words. They had a house in Hayward, California, and they had a house in Dublin, California. That's it. That's all they had. But by the grace of God, those houses that they bought for $160,000 and $189,000 went up to numbers that we couldn't even fathom. The $189,000 house went up to $1.89 million. The $160,000 house, $170,000 house they bought went to $700,000. They flipped it into a house in Mountain House, California, which is in the San Joaquin County. That house they ended up flipping from $100,000. They bought another home, and that current house is worth $1.35 million in Rockland, California. 1031 exchange. If that story had just did not blossom, if it just stayed at like, oh, they bought a house for $160,000, it went to $200,000, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. I don't think I'd be in real estate. But because I saw my parents, who are very blue collar, if you don't know anything about me, know this. My mom was a tomato picker. She picked tomatoes for Heinz ketchup. And then she graduated and became a U.S. Postal Service carrier who struggled with English, language barrier, whole life. All right. My father was a college professor in India. And when he came here, his credentials didn't fly. So what did he do? He worked in law enforcement for Oakland Police Department. And these are far before the days of where a law enforcement agent would make 6 figures. Okay, these are the days where with overtime, you're making $65,000 a year. So if you want to talk to me about, how hard it was for you to believe that, you could make it, trust me, I am you. I am you. If you haven't had to switch price tags at a TJ Maxx at age 8 years old for your sister so she can get good clothes, don't talk to me. Funny story for you. I used to price tag switch. You know what that means? It means you rip a price tag. And it's embarrassing saying this. It upsets me saying this. You would rip a price tag of a cheaper product at Ross and put it on as quickly as you can or as safely as you can on a higher price product. Okay? Like a Nike sweatshirt. And then you'd go make your way to the register and you'd pray to God. You'd hope that the register attendant wouldn't want to be a snitch that day, wouldn't want to be extra Ross that day. You see what I'm saying? Funny story for you. This is how the world works, and this is why I so believe in God. The lady who used to ring up our register at the Ross at Southland Mall, when I used to do price tag changes for my sister to have Nike sweatshirts that she wanted, and for me to be able to buy like clothes that I wanted. And I wasn't doing it all the time. It wasn't like I was trying to hurt anybody. I was just trying to have something cool so people wouldn't make fun of me at school. I would do it like once a year. She would look at me, she'd make eye contact, she'd be like, "Oh, Nike sweatshirt, huh? $4.99? Good find." It wasn't until like maybe 5 years ago, the world works in such roundabouts. That same lady, she recognized me. And I was her loan officer, and I helped her buy a house. If that's not God, I don't know what is. And that's a true story. Look, if it's not, what you were born into, if it wasn't your low self-esteem, if it's not comfort, maybe the reason you're not buying is because you're going through some life event. Maybe you just suffered a huge injury. Maybe you just got a divorce. Maybe you just broke up with somebody that broke your heart and you can't, do it on your own. Maybe your income isn't there. Maybe you didn't go to school, or maybe you didn't do what you needed to do to get a high paying job, and you just feel like, man, I don't think I can do it. Right? These are stories that we tell ourselves all the time. These are excuses that we make for ourselves. If there's any ounce of you that believes that I'm saying this to get a transaction out of you so that you'll do a loan with me, go do a loan with someone else. Just go do it. I just want you to win. Because if it wasn't for my mom and my dad and me seeing them win that, working the jobs that they did, the roughness they saw, I would have probably been just like you. I would have been making excuses in my head on why I live in an apartment, doing the best I can, providing for my 2 sons. And then they would have saw it. The cycle would have perpetuated. Like they would have grown up and they would have saw, hey, we lived in an apartment, so maybe I should live in an apartment. And then, it'll be 2040 and their kids are doing the same thing. I want to break the cycle for anybody out there. White, black, Mexican, Indian, any nationality, Asian, any nationality, right? But man, our minorities are really suffering for this. They really are. Minority homeownership is down. It really sucks. It's down in comparison to, races and nationalities. So let's just change this narrative. And we can't change it unless we try. So let's try. That's all I'm asking. All right. Sonny Singh here, KEES Lending. Let's make a run for it in 2024. Let's buy as much real estate as we can.